So know how to use the brush and the eraser. But after that, a big question appears. What about all the other tools? When you open your digital art software, you see dozens of icons and tools. What do they actually do? Which ones should you use? And more importantly, how should you use them correctly? If you've ever felt confused by all those tools, don't worry, you're not alone. In this video, I'm going to explain the essential tools every digital artist should learn after mastering the brush and eraser. These tools will make your art process faster, easier, and much more fun. And make sure you watch until the end, because the last tool is one of the most powerful tools in digital art. If you know how to use it properly, it can improve your artwork by 100%. But if you use it incorrectly, it can completely ruin your entire artwork. So without wasting any more time, let's start the video. Pinterest is something that every artist should know about, whether you are a traditional artist or a digital artist. Because a great artwork usually comes from a great reference. If you look closely, almost every artist uses Pinterest in some way. It doesn't matter if they draw from imagination, do reference studies, or just look for inspiration. Pinterest is always part of their process. Artists use it for many reasons. Sometimes for inspiration, sometimes for references, and sometimes just to explore new ideas. Honestly, in all my time learning art, I have never seen a serious artist who doesn't use Pinterest. And if you are using Google to find references, you might actually be wasting a lot of time. Because Pinterest is much better when it comes to finding art references. On Pinterest, you can find better quality images, more aesthetic references, and references that are much more relevant to the topic you're searching for. In fact, many artists believe that Google is not the best place to find art references, especially when compared to Pinterest. Personally, whenever I find a reference that I like, I simply pin it and save it for later so I can use it when I need it. So if you are a digital artist or any kind of artist, you should definitely start using Pinterest to find references for your artwork. It will make your art process easier, faster, and much more inspiring. When I was a beginner in digital art, I used to think that using layers was just a waste of time. Most of the time, I would do everything on a single layer. But as I gained more experience, I realized that layers are actually one of the most powerful tools in digital art. Layers help you keep your work organized, cleaner, and much more efficient. They also make the coloring process a lot easier. In most digital art software, there are many features related to layers, like alpha lock, clipping mask, selection tools, and different blending modes. But if you are a beginner, seeing so many options can feel very confusing. So if someone asks me which layer features a beginner should learn first, I would recommend focusing on 3 simple things. The first thing is using multiple layers. Whenever you create an artwork, try to keep different objects on different layers. For example, 1 layer for the skin, 1 layer for the clothes, 1 layer for the hair. This keeps your artwork organized, and if you make a mistake, it becomes much easier to fix. The second thing is alpha lock and clipping mask. Let's say you have already colored a certain area. If you apply alpha lock or a clipping mask, you will only be able to paint inside that area. This prevents your colors from going outside the shape and makes your workflow much faster and cleaner. The third thing is blending modes. Layers also come with different blending modes that help a lot with coloring. As a beginner, one blending mode you should definitely know is multiply. Multiply is commonly used for adding shadows to your artwork. It helps give your drawing more depth and better lighting. So if you are just starting with digital art, understanding these basic layer concepts is more than enough in the beginning. And as you keep practicing, you will naturally start learning more advanced layer features over time. You may have noticed that many artists use a tool that allows them to select a specific area of their canvas, and then they do all their drawing or coloring only inside that selected area. Because of that, the color doesn't go outside the shape and nothing affects the rest of the artwork. This tool is called the lasso tool. Many beginner artists either don't know about this tool or they simply don't use it very often. But in my opinion, it is actually a very powerful and useful tool. Using the lasso tool can make your workflow much more efficient. Basically, what it does is simple. You select a particular area, and then you work only inside that selection. This means the rest of your artwork won't be affected while you're working. It also helps you stay focused on just the part you want to edit or color without disturbing the surrounding areas. There isn't anything very complicated about this tool. The main idea is simple. If you want to work within a specific area, just select it using the lasso tool, and then you can paint or draw inside it freely. This small trick can make your digital art process faster, cleaner, and much easier to control. You can probably guess what this tool does just by hearing its name. It's one of the best tools that I personally use, and honestly, I really love how useful it is. I'm talking about the undo tool. Most people think undo is only used to go back one step, but I actually use it in many different ways. For example, sometimes I make a change in my drawing, but I'm not sure if the drawing looked better before the change or after it. In that situation, I simply go back and forth using undo and redo. By doing this, I can quickly compare both versions and decide which one looks better. Another way I use undo is almost like an eraser. For example, let's say I accidentally spread color across an entire area. If I try to erase everything manually with the eraser tool, it can become very annoying and time-consuming, and sometimes it's not even very clean. But with undo, I can fix the mistake in just one click. That's why I really like how the undo feature works. And if you spend some time practicing digital art, you'll eventually realize how incredibly useful the undo tool actually is. The liquify tool is, in my opinion, a slightly complicated tool, especially for beginners. Many beginner artists don't really know how to use it properly. Basically, the liquify tool allows you to change the shape of things in your drawing. You can push, pull, widen, shrink, or slightly distort parts of your artwork. In simple terms, it lets you manipulate the structure of your drawing. For example, you can make something a little wider, make a shape slightly smaller, or adjust certain parts of the drawing. But the problem is that many people don't use this tool carefully, and they end up ruining their drawing. So my advice is simple. Whenever you use the liquify tool, try to make only small and subtle changes. For example, you might slightly adjust the shape of a face or fix the proportion of a feature. But if you start making very big changes, like enlarging the head too much or heavily distorting the drawing, it can quickly make your artwork look unnatural. The shapes can start looking weird or broken, and the drawing loses its balance. So as a beginner, I wouldn't recommend relying too much on the liquify tool. It's better to use it very carefully and only for small adjustments. So these were some of the most useful tools in digital art that every beginner should know about. You don't need to master every tool in your software right away. In the beginning, just focus on learning the basics and practicing consistently. As you keep drawing and experimenting, you'll slowly understand when and how to use these tools properly. Remember, tools are there to help your workflow, but the most important thing is still your practice and your understanding of art. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more digital art tips and tutorials. And let me know in the comments, which digital art tool do you use the most? I'll see you in the next video.